What's going on, people? Welcome back to another video. My name is Hugh, and you're watching. This has been a much anticipated, hugely asked for, one of the most requested collaborations that I've had from the viewers. The requests have been coming in thick and fast for a long time. I'm delighted to welcome, finally, Deluded Guna in the building. How you doing, my son?
Oh, man, I've been prepared for this moment for a sec still. I'm good, man. I'm good. What are you saying?
I'm excited to have you on here. It is a shame that we're going to have to do the whole reminiscing over what was pretty dire performance, but I'm hoping that you can give us some positivity. I know that if you are new to Deluded Guna, I will leave links in the description box below, but he is the hardest working YouTuber in the game, full stop, and very knowledgeable as well. Obsessed with Arsenal, so in good company today, people. If you've got any questions, all you got to do is get them in the comments. We will be bringing up those. It is not pre-recorded fraudulence. You are watching live and exclusive, Aria. You, my friend, are the massive fraud, and we will expose all of the frauds on the show today. Let's get straight down to it. 0-0 against Leeds United. And, wow, I mean, where do I even begin with this? I'm starting to see a trend amongst fans who are beginning to lose patience with Arteta. And this is the first thing that I want to get from you, Deluded. Your name may well be Deluded, but you're anything but. And hopefully you're going to be able to shed some light on what you can see happening and whether this is something that needs to be trusted, this process, or whether people are right to be panicking.
I mean, to be fair with you, if you're asking for positivity, I'm not too sure here if I'm able to find some. What I will say is I retain faith in Arteta. That doesn't mean, obviously, we can't ask questions as what's happening, because I'm sure even the most knowledgeable of Arsenal fan can't make out what's happening. We're seeing a bunch of different players. We're struggling to create. You know, I mean, you don't become a bad manager overnight. I don't want to be the guy who reminds everyone of him coming and winning the FA Cup and things like that. But right now, it's not looking too rosy. You're looking for a single facet of this team to be positive about. And there actually isn't one, really. I retain faith in Arteta, but it's what am I retaining faith in at the end of the day? I'm not really seeing in an attacking sense anything.
There is the one thing, right, that really got to me about yesterday, and that was the post-match interview that Arteta did, where he really threw Pepe under the bus. He said his name 4 or 5 times, and I don't think I've ever seen that from an Arsenal manager, if only because Wenger really did look after the players, especially in times, I think, where they could have really been exposed and hung out to dry. But what did you think about that, and do you think that Pepe deserved that?
I think that's a sort of, it's sort of symbolic as to their relationship. I think he's probably tried everything to get a reaction from Pepe, and this is the last straw to kind of hang him out to dry. I did think he deserved to face the music. Obviously, it was a stupid red card, but I did think someone that's, you know, played under Wenger would have protected him and attacked him in private. And like you said, he name dropped him several times, and I think he's a player that really Arteta doesn't trust. He's found every excuse not to use him, even when we're seeing Willian in poor form. And I do think he'll have to use him again this season, but Pepe can't really complain if he's not. And it's just given more fuel to the fire for Arteta to further alienate him, really, my guy.
Willian has been an interesting one. Initially, I was quite excited about it. I thought he could add quite a lot. He seems to be the chosen one as far as Arteta goes. And Pepe has not done himself any favours, obviously, with a moment of, it's just a rash moment, isn't it, of bad decision. He's basically bought into it because he was being wound up, but I feel like a lot of people have lost faith with him already and are ready to, I'm seeing people saying they want to sell him. is it literally that far down the line? You don't look too surprised at that, man.
I'm not too surprised, my guy, because Pepe is hot and cold. I believe in him. I don't think he's going to be like Arsenal's Mane or Salah or our sort of talisman. That being said, he can be a good player. You know, his numbers, as mediocre as they might be and as mediocre as he's been since he's come to England, are still ahead of most of the players already at Arsenal. I still think there's a bit of adaptation to be done. I still think, you know, the same old excuses of, you know, he hasn't had a consistent right back. Managers haven't played to the best of his strengths. They're all valid, but at some point the penny has to drop at Pepe. And I'd say, as much as I forgive Arteta and all of these people for where Pepe is at the moment, is he doing enough? You know, he seems like he takes everything in his stride. Is he demanding a bit more of himself? I'm by no means comparing him to Thierry Henry, but that's one thing I have of him, in that he is quite passive. I want him to be a bit more demanding. I want him to seize the moment. It's difficult when you're not playing and then you're thrown in, but he ripped the wrong headlines against Leeds. I could see Arteta selling him, because he hasn't favoured him from the start.
I mean, I'm shocked really that people are saying that, if only because he hasn't really been given much of an opportunity.
Yeah.
If he isn't his chosen, you know, if he isn't the one and he doesn't like him, that is fair enough. It just seems like, because, you know, he came with such a huge price tag, there's so much expectation on his shoulders. You're hoping that as soon as he does get a chance, that he can do something. Now, this is my issue as well. The fact that we are able to, or Mikel Arteta has been able to scapegoat Pepe, which ultimately is how I see it, is really plugging and covering up, papering over this crack, which is a massive crack, which was that we were getting dominated,
Right.
completely outplayed by a side who seemed to want the ball, who seemed to know what they're doing, and were creating umpteen chances. I genuinely don't know how they didn't win. Now, Pepe seems to have given us, or Arteta, a way out, a way to say, you know, we were down to 10 men, and as a result, we have to do this thing. But we were doing this very badly anyway. How do you feel going forward? Are you going to look for, or demand even, a more attacking style or a change of formation? What do you see as the problem there as far as the creativity goes?
I mean, it's not even a case of demand. It has to be done. You know, Arteta is going to live or die by these players' performances and his system. You know, I think we all thought that, I'd say, attacking sort of play was a given. We all know last year when he came in, the priority was defending and improving that. And we saw that, and we somewhat assumed if he was given a summer, he'd bring several players in. He spoke of Arsene Wenger and the values of Arsenal. We all know his history in the clubs he's worked under or played for. We thought it was going to be something that it isn't. I do think he has a bit of a handicap, and I'm not saying this he's like Unai Emery, but several managers have been here now, and they seem to have a handbrake. I don't feel he believes in any one of those 11. He simply has to take the handbrake off. I like that he cares about defending, but I mean, our improvement in terms of defending, just looking at the numbers, there is an improvement, but it's overinflated and we're hardly scoring goals. It's not sustainable at all.
So do you think that there is a quality manager in there somewhere? Do you think that? Right. Okay.
But he just needs to face questions. The problem with Arteta is that, you know, he's a novice manager. He's just taken over. What I wanted to see is when he did make mistakes, learn fast. And he seems to not be learning from his mistakes. As much as, you know, Leeds were good going forward, we never, like you said earlier, we didn't set out that it looked like we wanted to win a game. You know, the same could be said about Villa as well. And the concerning thing for those games as to why we're not on the front foot, both of those teams coming into it were in back-to-back defeats. Looking at Leeds, they conceded 8 goals in their last 2 games prior. They kept a clean sheet against us in true Arsenal fan fashion. That says it all. Like, that says it all. And that's a reflection of the manager. It's also a reflection of the players, because, you know, I don't believe in Willian starting. He got an opportunity. We just spoke about Pepe. You had young Joe Willock. You've got Aubameyang through the middle. Individually, these players should have went out there and said, okay, cool, my season starts today. Apart from Tierney and maybe a couple of others who really stood up to be counted when the going got tough on a rainy day in Yorkshire. No one.
Do you feel like Willian, or the signing of Willian, is potentially getting in the way of the progress of, say, Reece Nelson, who came on and looked quite lively, looks hungry to do something? You know, maybe not the finished article, but youngsters who have been at the club for some time seem to understand what it is that fans demand, what we are looking for, and what it means to wear the shirt. I know that you do a lot of work with a lot of the young kids who are coming through the ranks and trying to make their way forward into the first 11 or into the first squad, into the senior squad. Who do you feel like should be given the biggest of opportunities? Because clearly we've seen Saka thriving. Who is the next one for us to all, rest our hopes on? Is it even Martinelli coming back from injury?
I mean, I was just thinking of Martinelli before you said that. For me, it's got to be Martinelli. I haven't got the statistics to hand, but I'm pretty sure when Arteta took over, he wasn't using Martinelli frequently enough, or wasn't using him too often. He has to get game time. I'd love to see Nelson and Emil Smith-Rowe get more game time, but they've got to stay fit, and fans have to be patient. If you're going to throw these young players in, fans have to concede that we might be less competitive, and B, they have to consider that these lot are still trying to introduce consistency. You look at Nelson, I think he was quite positive off the bench. He's someone I'd love to get chances, but you see his crossing. I'm pretty sure every Arsenal fan was quite frustrated in that regard, as good as he is. So yeah, man, I'd say them two, Smith-Rowe and Nelson, but they've got to stay fit, man. And Arteta's got to trust them. Does he really trust them in his heart? I'm not too sure. I think Willian, in hindsight, was a defensive signing, because you've got Partey, you're going 5 at the back. For whatever we have to say about Willian, he's probably the best going backwards, as all of the right wingers are at this club. So I don't know. I think what goes for Willian is that he's going to be consistently average, and these young players are going to be hot and cold. And I think Arteta would rather roll with that. He's using him. It's a costly signing in terms of the wages, so it might cripple them. But chances seem to be developing in this side. It's down to them to take it.
I've got to be honest. The way that he approached yesterday, I really feel like he was scared to lose, and that really doesn't inspire me, especially with the talent that we've got on our books. This is a better side than we've had for a long time. There are bits there, and yes, there are still a couple of pieces missing. Right now, this is where the problem gets a little bit more complex, because, as you know, as a well-versed Arsenal fan, it's not just as simple as what's going on the pitch at this club.
Facts.
And it is very easy to fall into this trap of blaming somebody, a manager, a right back, a referee, VAR. It's a different one every week. Ultimately, I've been watching this club long enough to know that we need more. And you see the rest of the Premier League right now in an absolute mess. It's pandemonium. We've literally had a global pandemic, and what is happening is something that we may not see again for a long time. It's a huge opportunity that someone is going to take. Now, had Arsenal got their arse in gear and actually got the deal done that they were looking to do anyway for an attacking midfielder, I think we'd be in a position where we could change things around and play with a little bit more confidence. And there would also be no excuse. And as a result, I'm sorry to say this, but I can't blame Arteta. I can't blame even those players, because he clearly feels like he has to play this way. Now, look, it's not for everyone. I'll tell you what, it's not really for me. I've been brought up on beautiful football, true ballers who get the ball on the floor and make it happen with confidence, taking on people for fun. But ultimately, this does stem from the top, right? This stems from us not having sufficient backing, and also not chasing actually being winners.
Facts, man, facts. And it was depressing hearing you speak, man. It was almost like I'm at Alcoholics Anonymous or something, hearing a fellow someone speak. It is what it is, man. It's like we can talk about Arteta and his shortcomings. We can talk about the players. Fundamentally, it's the people above. There's going to be different managers. There's going to be different players. It's already happened. And the same thing has been there, in that Arsenal are not serious in terms of trying to get back in the Champions League. And above that, it comes from the owner. You're seeing fancy propaganda pieces out on The Athletic, how Arteta and the rest of them begged Kroenke to donate some money for Partey. But if you're looking at this market with FFP relaxed, where it seems like the bigger clubs don't have money and they're not going for someone like Aouar, you could have made a statement. And if you can't get a Partey or Aouar, why not bring in those skill sets? And it just comes back to Arsenal. We're reactive across everything. We're reactive on the football field. We're reactive in the market. And we can't really complain while we're here. Now, I agree with you. Fundamentally, for those things, we can't blame Arteta. I do think he takes more of the blame than Emre in that regards, because he is now a manager manager. We have been blatantly told he's got more of a say in transfers, but he made no secret of wanting Aouar. You know, he's done the public pursuit. You hear the rumors how he's met with them, and for some reason it's not worked out. So he's being crippled in that regards. Can I have much sympathy for him? Of course I can, but at the same time, Arteta did know the job he walked into. He turned it down a year prior. So what's got to have changed? What language was said? Has he been lied to like us? In which I forgive him for what he's doing, but like you said, man, fundamentally it comes from the top.
Has he been lied to like us, right? Or is he actually lying to us as well? Because this is the one thing that I get from the situation, at least with Mesut Ozil and the way that he's handled that. Do you remember Unai Emery saying that it is a club decision?
Yeah.
The club decision. And that was what got him off the hook for me. It was like, okay, that's not your choice anymore. I'm going to leave that one. Now, Arteta has made it his business that it's for footballing reasons. And I don't want to harp on about Ozil because, to be quite honest with you, it's hot and cold himself. He's in and out, right? But you're giving people ammunition and you're making yourself look really quite foolish when we're getting smashed by a side that have just been promoted. And as much as I've given them all the plaudits that they deserve, the fact of the matter is that financially, Arsenal have had more than 25 years in Premier League football, earning ridiculous amounts of money to put themselves with a solid foundation that means they should be able to beat all promoted sides. Those should be 3 points guaranteed. Unfortunately, it's far from that, isn't it? It is far from that. Now, I'm looking at the stats. I don't like, focusing too much on the stats, but Arsenal's top scorer in the Premier League this season is still Alexandre Lacazette. And it's amazing to say that. And actually,
wow.
Yeah. What is going on with Aubameyang? Because we wanted to see him through the middle. A lot of fans were clamoring for that. He's made that change. Is it a question, actually, of utilising what Lacazette can do? And are fans actually clueless? Is Aubameyang not best through the middle?
I mean, it's an interesting one. I think, you have to look back to Arteta's system because fundamentally not a single attacking player is excelling. There's got to be something in what the manager's doing. No, but like you said, the stats, Lacazette's still our top goal scorer. The problem is how you see Aubameyang. It's like last season, I didn't really like him on the left-hand side, but it was almost like he's a left-sided forward. This season, he's been playing like a winger, like against Aston Villa. If you're Aston Villa, you're beating us. They're chasing the game, and you've got Aubameyang crossing for Saka. Fundamentally, something is wrong, and you're laughing in that regards. I do listen. Lacazette's form or Nketiah's form, it's not really of the level, but I think this is where people need to understand it's a squad game. There's a 25-man side. We haven't got any world-class players, so it's highly unlikely for 38 games any one of them are going to be out. So we need to flirt between different formations and options. The whole point, forgive me if I'm wrong, of Aubameyang moving out wide is because Lacazette was in form and he was creating issues. We haven't got that anymore, sort of thing.
Okay, it's a long season and a lot of people are throwing their toys out of the pram after 9 games. It is obviously not the start that we wanted, but plenty of time. Wolves and Tottenham are the next 2 Premier League fixtures. These are must-win games, bro. I can't. It's going to get really stressful if Arsenal don't get at least 4 points from these games. And unfortunately, we're coming up against a Spurs side who people are saying could well be title challengers, at least. They look good. Their squad is definitely deeper than it's ever been. In my lifetime, I can't remember them being this good. And they have a manager who does know and does have the experience of getting a team over the line. I'm slightly worried about the North London derby. Please, can you somehow put my mind at rest as to how you see the next 2 games going?
Bro, I wish I could, but I can't, man. I really can't sit here and tell you anything different. We've been saying it's a must-win against Leeds. It's a must-win against Villa. Personally, we haven't looked good all season. Give Fulham credit, give the United performance credit, but it's irrelevant. I'm scared. You said it all about Spurs. ideally, you should be targeting 4 to 6 points in true Arsenal fashion, including the Leeds game. We could very well just stay on 1 point. It's down to these players. Will they learn their mistakes of the last North London derby? I genuinely feel these players aren't watching. They should be watching last game because, forgive me if I'm wrong, we threw that away. Lacazette scored a banger, a peach of a goal, and we threw it away. You know yourself, we don't learn from our mistakes. So seeing is believing. If you get tactically outdone by Bielsa, you've got Jose Mourinho and Nuno, two similar managers to him, so it's not going to get any better. And as long as this poor form continues, and you've seen yourself, the run of fixtures, it's not kind. It can get very nasty. Arteta speaks of needing the fans back and wanting the fans back. I very much doubt you'd have wanted the fans at the Leeds game or the Villa game, really. So God knows what's going to happen in those games.
Okay, how do you actually see this season panning out, and what kind of expectations have you got for Mikel Arteta this season? Are you looking at top 4, top 6, or top half of the table? Are Arsenal now just a cup team? Europa League, FA Cup team? Is that the best option of angle to focus on?
Well, I still maintain getting Europe through the league is the best, and mathematically it's still possible in true Wenger fashion. I'm going to shout that, but realistically, we all know it's gone. I didn't expect top 4 before it. We all know the consistency. You beat United and ended the curse at Old Trafford, sandwiched in between that 2 defeats. So in relation to this season, it's going to be more of the same. I'm begging for 6th, 5th place now. I want top 4. I'm begging for 5th, 6th. It's probably going to be more of the same, quite simply put. Really. And in relation to Arteta, the minimum he has to show me is everything we're talking about so far that he hasn't. A clear way of playing, a clear ethos. He's been here 10 months. I'm not asking for it to be perfect, but there should your how you want to play and what you want to shape things up, it should be rubber stamped. So the further we go along that he doesn't show me that, his position is always going to be in question. He shows me that, he shows me you're the man, and he shows me it's literally just a case of investing in the market, then he stays. He doesn't, he's going to have to go where Emre goes.
Okay, January, there has been talk of Arsenal signing one of a couple of attacking players. I know. We've been here before. We've seen it all before. Is this actually going to happen? We don't know. But one that is being talked about quite a lot is the Hungarian Sloboslai. He looks fantastic. Have you seen him? And is that the one? Is he the one?
I'm very wary of saying players are the one. When you're Arsenal Football Club, you're not Madrid, you're not Barcelona. You have to be prepared to not get first choice targets or have contingency plans. I think he is a quality player. He'd probably have to learn a lot defensively and playing deeper in midfield if he was to be played there. He'd have to learn, but he's got it all, man. He can hit a free kick. He comes alive in a semicircle. He's got that knack of making the difference in important moments, and he's very good in the final third. He's not the finished article. You know yourself. Whenever we're linked with fans always have this romance around them and placing him at a level he's not. There's a lot of development to be done with him, but he definitely would help our case. A lot of players would help our case, really and truly.
Okay, I'm going to go through some of the comments that the frauds are leaving in the chat. Let's just put a few questions to DG whilst he's here. Aubameyang doesn't look interested anymore, says Melvin. He's just fleeced us like Ozil has, and I don't blame them. Something stinks from above that makes all the players this way. Club's rotten from top to bottom. Wow, inspiring, huge confidence. Yeah. Listen, do you think there's something in this? Players signing their contracts and just taking their foot off the pedal. Aubameyang does look like he has declined somewhat, or is that a question of the system having an impact on how he is usually so impactful?
I think it's a bit of everything, really and truly. Since the moment Aubameyang's walked into this football club, he's been scoring an alarming rates of goals. And we've said ourselves, it's a miracle because we do not play to his strength. In that regards, the luck was going to run out. Naturally, at 31, you'd imagine there'd be some sort of decline, and signing a 3-year deal, declining, you'd think the club would tailor their squad or the team towards how he wants to play. There probably is a degree of truth in relation to the contract and a coincidence of getting a new deal and foot coming off the gas. But for me, it's because Aubameyang just doesn't look confident. Like how strikers are. They goals is everything to him. And when you're not shooting, when you're second guessing everything, when your team is not creating, when you haven't got the confidence to even pick up the ball from deep and run, it's a bad little cocktail. It's the more he fails to score from open play, you know, we're always gonna be talking about this, and there is a real fear that he might not get 15 this season.
15. Listen to
I'm
this,
scared,
right?
man, because I don't want to say that. I think he can, but we're not creating. He's not shooting. How are we going to get 15 minimum if we carry on like this? I'm sure.
I heard a statistic that says that he is yet to miss a clear-cut opportunity, and also that if he carries on at this rate, he will end the season with four goals.
Bro,
We're paying a lot of money for 4 goals.
He'll be our top goal scorer as well. That's the wickedest thing.
Rahul Mendonca says, what is the reason for our midfield drought? Is it the squad lacking creative players, or is it due to our formations and our game plan?
For me, I'd say it is the formation, really and truly, but I'd say it's the game plan more or less, really, because we're not set out. What we see on a football game every Saturday and Sunday doesn't imply to me that Arsenal are working on attacking drills. You know, Wenger ball, we all cry for it. We were sick of it. We almost blasted it. That's a result of muscle memory. You know, we're not seeing that. The defense, they've got it on lock and they're all in position, so they've been working on that. I do think clearly we haven't got the personnel. At a best, our best pivot right now is probably El Nene and Partey. Take nothing away from Partey and nothing away from El Nene's form. That's not expansive enough. Like you saw against Aston Villa, when, like you said earlier, when teams are with a low block, we're going to struggle. So it is a personnel thing. It firmly is. Look at our midfield options. You know, none of them apart from Partey are really 100% everybody sold on every part of their game. It's crazy.
I hear you, but I feel like against Aston Villa, we were the low block.
Yeah, and that's down to Arteta, because he's shook. He's shook. He needs to free up the handbrake, and he needs to realize in the Premier League these 1-0s are not sustainable. You look at all the upsets. Fundamentally, they happen in the Premier League because the team have a go. Aston Villa, fair enough, they're not going to have another 7-2 against Liverpool, but if they sat back, they don't get that result. They were fearless. We're focusing too much about the opposition and not what we can have. We shouldn't be sitting here talking about Aubameyang not scoring or shooting. Attacking play should be the least of our problems. In fact, that was probably fixing us defensively was the harder task. So I know Arteta can do it, but something is stopping him. And like I said, he's got to learn from his mistakes fast, and he's not doing it right now.
Kirat Singh says we need to be realistic with the players we have. Everyone keeps blaming Mikel, and he's made some questionable decisions. If we believe there would be a drastic improvement, given how much other teams strengthened, then we need to wake up. I mean, I've got to agree, really. It's the usual gas, isn't it? We get excited by these shiny new toys like a Thomas Partey, but we all knew deep down that if we weren't going to play with Ozil, then we needed to get something else. And, you know, other teams are signing 4 or 5 players each at 20 to 40 million pounds each. And that in itself isn't enough. So how is 1-2 bits going to be enough? It's always 1 step forward, 2 steps back with Arsenal. Kirat, nothing new there in what you're saying. I totally agree. It is very easy to point fingers. And I've got to say that fingers do have to be pointed in a way, because as much as it does funnel down from the top, there's no denying that what we saw on the pitch yesterday was shambolic. It was second rate. They were in fact, even in terms of desire, which is the one thing that I thought Arteta would really put into this side, that willingness to work and fight for every 50-50. There's none of that. There's none of that. They're losing 5, 6 50-50s in a row.
Bro, they're not shooting. Like, this team conceded 8 goals in 2 games. They had that team had 24 shots to ours. It's exactly what you said. Hunger should be a given. We heard they were itching to play a game after they lost to Aston Villa, and they were hungry after the international break. You never saw that, and it isn't there. That being said, as much as I agree with the previous comment, you know, across all the games we've played, we've only looked good against Fulham. The United result, fair play. Fulham, we look great. West Ham, we needed it at halftime. Even in the Europa League, we've made things harder than it needs to be. You know, I can't just keep sitting here and saying that's above. You know, as much as I'm the last to criticize Arteta, you've got to look at him. If this is Emery, we're looking at this with a bit more anger and whatnot. I'm giving him a blight, but, you know, he's not faultless or spotless in this.
Bear in mind, Unai Emery currently has Villarreal, I think, in 3rd place in La Liga. They've lost 1 game in 10, and we are going to end up meeting them in the Europa League, I can tell. We are. Oh, that will just be the end of me. Typical. Oh, wow. Incredible. Listen, I'm going to love you and leave you for now. Lewis Glazer with the last comment of the day. He says, hey, Hugh, love the content from a Spurs fan. Should Arteta give Ozil a go and see what the results are? I'm almost convinced we've seen the last of Ozil in an Arsenal shirt. I feel like the club have made their bed, and as unfortunate as it is, as sad as it is that it's come to an end like this, we just got to move on now. So the sooner that we can get in a creative player, the better, in my eyes. Any last thoughts on that?
Bro, you took the words out of my mouth. What could I say? The only reason we're talking about Ozil is, again, we haven't seen anything on the training ground from Arteta to combat the lack of attacking play. That's there. We don't talk about Ozil. We call Arteta a genius. In fact, we're talking about Ozil because they haven't mitigated against that. It's as simple as that, Hugh.
Deluded, it is an absolute pleasure having you on the channel. I hope that we can do this again, make this a regular thing. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe and drop the video a damn like if you breathe oxygen. I'll be back either later on if this video gets, let's say, 2,000 or 3,000 likes. If not, I'll see you in the morning. And, well, let's just hope and pray that this does improve. If you have got any thoughts, you can leave them in the comment section below. I'm going to leave Deluded's channel links, both Twitter, YouTube, all the good stuff in the description box below. So make sure you check him out, subscribe to him. He will be up with about 20 videos in the morning. For now, though, I'm going to love you and leave you. Peace, guys.